The Penn State Nittany Lions are the national champions.
Well, one of the true defining moments in Joe Paterno's coaching history, 25 years ago at the Fiesta Bowl when Penn State went in as an underdog. Everyone said that Miami was invincible. The Nittany Lions won the game 14-10, forcing 5 Vinny Testaverde interceptions in the game. John Schaefer scored on a run, and after a Shane Conlon interception, DJ Jozier was able to score what proved to be the game winner, and John Brewer had a big night kicking the football. One of the defining moments in Penn State football history on the field. Joe Paterno being carried off the field in Tempe, Arizona that night after beating Miami. All right, so let's get to it now. Let's talk about Nebraska, because Nebraska's a team that comes in 7-2, and let's take a look at Bo Pelini, Youngstown, Ohio's own, and what he's done so far. Good record at Nebraska and what he's done overall. I mean, and you see they won the Texas Bowl a couple of years ago, and he has put together, I think, a more traditional Nebraska offensive attack in the vein of Tom Osborne and also Frank Solich.
What is it with these Ohio coaches? It seems when you're playing on the football field, and the teams and the coaches of teams that are doing real well seem to take their heritage back to the state of Ohio. But you're right, Bo Pelini has kind of restored the traditional approach to the Nebraska football team, and that's what this program needed. That's what it identifies with.
And the Nebraska offense, obviously the key to what happens with this. Taylor Martinez is the focal point of what Nebraska does. Let's take a look at what he's done so far. Total offense, he's third in the Big Ten. Rushing offense, remember, he's a quarterback. He's sixth in the conference. And in passing, he is coming off a 289-yard game against Northwestern last week in Lincoln. He doesn't throw it often, but last week when they had to try and come back, he was a little more effective.
Yeah, and they had success running the football against Northwestern early in that football game. But you're right. I don't expect him to have that type of success against Penn State. And the key is this: when you play Taylor Martinez, you must stop him on the option series running with the football. If you can do that, then you're going to create problems for him throwing the football, Steve.
I want to get into, for a moment, we talk about Rex Burkhead, the role of the safeties in all this. Nick Suke and Drew Astorino, because Astorino has played that part linebacker, part safety, the hero spot all season.
The Astorino has been superb. His run support coming up, and especially tackling in space, has been as good as I've ever seen him perform. And it kind of gives you the impression maybe this guy never lost. A lot of people criticize him the last couple of years, but he finally proved to everybody when he's healthy, he's a pretty doggone good football player, Steve.
No question about that. Then, of course, there's Rex Burkhead. We mixed him in a little bit earlier, but as a downhill runner, Phil, especially one that's downhill after he gets the pitch, how effective is he?
He's an old school running back, and I think he's probably one of the more underrated individuals in the Big Ten. He's not fancy. He doesn't have the moves of a Silas Red, and you don't get the impression he's going to make that big run. But the guy always finds a way. When you think it's 3-4 yards, it ends up being 7-8 yards. He's one tough football player.
Former quarterback Jamal Turner has been moved to wide receiver. He had been the leading receiver on this team before the Northwestern game. Now Brandon Kinney and Kenny Bell have been more the go-to guys for Taylor Martinez.
They got some good speed. They were very inconsistent at the beginning of the season. Bell has really made I think the most improvement as the season has progressed. But they'll struggle, in my opinion, throwing the football against this Penn State defense if they can control their running attack early.
Let's get to the Nebraska defense now, what they're able to accomplish. Up front, no Jared Crick. That's a loss without question for Nebraska. Who has to make up for that?
Steinkühler has to make up for it, because I don't know if Randall, his buddy at the other defensive tackle position, will be able to go either. Yeah, he's going to have to play like his dad played at offensive guard for the Nebraska football team back in the 1980s.
That would be Dean Steinkühler, of course. Now, Levante David and Will Compton. You look at those two linebackers, what do they bring to the table that can be hard to handle?
Levante David's one of the top linebackers in all of the Big Ten. He's added size to his ability. He's a kid that can run from sideline to sideline, and he's an instinctive football player. I'd be shocked if he is an All-Big Ten performer at season's end.
Take a look at the defensive ends. Cameron Meredith, number 34 for Nebraska, leads the Huskers so far this season in sacks. Phil, how tough is he off the edge?
I'd like to compare him in a lot of ways to what Penn State has in Jack Crawford. He's a solid football player. He isn't fancy, but he has the ability at times, to make the big play. They're not a big sack team. They're not a team with as many tackles for losses, like played the game like Devin Still in that type of a situation. But they're good, solid, dependable players.
Well, the question will be on Saturday, who will we see? The Nebraska defense, the black shirts that shut down Michigan State to 3 points, or the one that gave up 28 to Northwestern last week? We'll come back to wrap up our show and take a look around the Big Ten right after this.